Hello. Okay, that works. There we go. Why is that not working now? Let me share the stream link. Okay, get rid of that. Let's jump into it. Let's jump into this. I don't know why my live army thing isn't working. Hi, Trostov. How's it going, Troy? Good to have you here. I wonder if this is out of line. So I'm just trying to fix my my live army count thing. Just wondering if it's if I oops. Hey, Namuk. How's it going, mate? Good to have you here. How are you guys doing? I'll do the live army count thing there. Right, we are working on some dwarves today, specifically the dwarf city. So let's focus on that. I'll show you guys what I've been working on this week, like in between doing the edit and whilst I was traveling. So I was working on the original city for the dwarves before it was destroyed. So the idea is they lived in this like crazy utopian city that was essentially below a massive kind of glass dome. It's like not really glass, it's kind of a futuristic material. So this is pretty sci-fi. We're going very sci-fi for the dwarves, but this is like a long time in the past. So this is a bit of a hint at what life was like before the acceleration. So that's going to be like a cool little image there. So the idea is people lived in these kind of hive cities, but good hive cities, and they lived below these glass shields called the Shield. It was like one continuous one that stretched across like a lot of North Africa, and it was held up by these support towers, which again had like kind of buildings below them. And these like support cities is what they were called. And then you had the weather cities, which were all connected to the weather towers. So the weather towers essentially would seed rain when necessary. The like shield could change, so it was like different opacities. So sometimes you would they could let a certain amount of light through. So perhaps they'd have like farms that were present, so they could, you know, put a certain amount of sun on the farm, but not on people, and like it would reduce the temperature and things in there, so they could darken it when necessary, or just reduce the UV rays. It was like really smart glass essentially. But above the glass were these weather towers, and they could bring rain when necessary. So the problem was they essentially something happened, and they went nuts and created this crazy storm. So I was doing the thumbnails for this actually. Let me see if I can get my thumbnails out. My thumbnails out. Okay, I'm gonna do Ross's camera cam. See if we can get it working. Do it. Take a photo. Okay, there we go. Move my microphone. So essentially, it's not a very good image. I was just doing some little images of like the kind of before and after of the city as well. But take a picture. Use that photo. Okay, so the thing that happened was, oops. The thing that happened was the, like I said, you had these big utopian cities, and there was like many weather towers, because obviously North Africa is a very large place, so they had them, you know, a few hundred miles apart, and so people lived, you know, it's this massive society that lived underneath, and they could support each other, and you know, it wasn't perfect, but it was close enough to perfect. And so the idea behind this video is it's going to start with like a little animation, like a really simple one. I'm going to do probably in Blender or Unreal, and you're going to see essentially what we saw before, which is this city kind of on the glass, and you can kind of see cities in the distance. Hey Darth Malgus, how you doing, mate? What have you guys been up to anyway? Whilst I'm talking, I'm just kind of yammering on. I'm excited about this idea, so I'm gonna be yammering a little bit. But yeah, tell me what you guys have been up to. Okay, so yeah, essentially, let's get this. You have this kind of like puts above some clouds. The clouds are going to kind of center this image here. Do this one a little bit lighter because this is like the glass ceiling essentially of the shield. What are you drawing today? An ancient pre-acceleration city? That's right. We are drawing something from before the acceleration, so this should be a pretty cool like little hint. And it's gonna be a bit of like a sidestep because it's gonna be obviously very sci-fi. But I think it'll be a cool like little hint at to what you know pre-acceleration life was like. So yeah, let's see here. We got one over here. It's a bit easier to see once I've drawn these out a little bit more. So it's gonna be these big like weather towers, right? And there's like a few of them. There's one over here. And again, these are like really, really big towers. So these are actually like hundreds of miles apart from each other. Oops. And then you've got these clouds kind of in the background. And And so it opens up with this, and then you just duplicate that. So it's gonna be like a quite simple scene just from a single angle. I think the video, the animation is gonna be about like less than 20 seconds. But the idea is it's just gonna be, oops, that'll do. Okay, so you can see the cities, and then a ship is gonna fly in here. Again, it's just gonna be like a very simple spaceship. Gonna kind of fly into the frame, and then do a little oops, turn around here. And then sounds very cool, excited for the animation. Yeah, I want to do a bit more animation and some more 3D stuff. So the 3D on this I think is going to be really easy. Because again, it's just going to be some really simple shapes. The weather towers are going to be like square blocks. I want it to be a bit like very traditional, like Moroccan buildings. And you kind of have, what they're called, is it adobe buildings? Is it Adobe? Yeah, so a bit like Adobe buildings, which I think are North African, where they have those like really square shapes. But these are going to be like white. And then the glass dome thing is going to be a little bit transparent. So the ship will fly in, and you'll kind of get a hint at like how big this area is just by, you know, how tiny the ship gets. It's flying over here. And then, as it's getting about to there, there's going to be an explosion here. So the smoke's going to start going up. Here too. And like a little bit of smoke here. This one's going to be engulfed. And essentially this is going to... We're going to see this one. This one's going to be first, so it's going to be kind of in order. Like the smoke's going to start to plume. Because I want to try and practice some VFX as well. I'm going to figure that out as I do it. So it's going to be the furthest building first, the middle one second, and then the next one third. As these start to smoke, the weather's going to change a little bit. And it's going to start to get like darker, moodier, as like the weather starts to change now because the towers are like malfunctioning. And it's gonna be really, really sudden. Again, I have to try and figure out how to do this. But as soon as that happens, this one at the back is gonna detonate. Where are we? Ooh. Yeah, that's right. This one at the back is gonna detonate. Lots and lots of smoke. Lots of smoke from this one. This one's gonna start to be a lot smokier. But then there's gonna be a very Akira. It's going to do like a massive like dome style explosion, as is this one. And then finally get rid of that. Let's duplicate that one. finally, this one's going to have just a massive explosion here. It's going to kind of spread out. And then it's going to be like a flashing white screen. Yeah, so it should be pretty cool. It's like a really simple animation, but it's going to be like a hint at what happens to the dwarves, essentially. So these like huge, then, kind of like the utopian version of the Warhammer 40k Hive Seas. Exactly, that's exactly what they are. Yeah. Heading out on a run now, so I can't interact much for a little bit, but we'll enjoy listening. Oh, appreciate you being here anyway, Mark, and listening in. I'll try to not have long stints of silence. I sometimes do that, but sounds cool. Thanks. Yeah, so that's what happens to the city. So this is what the city looks like below. I don't know if you hear Darth Malagus at the start as I was explaining, but essentially they live below this shield. The shields can really control the UV and the sun that comes through, so they can put more sun on like agricultural areas. They can reduce the sun to reduce the temperature. It's like air conditioned. It's like utopian. They have water filters and like takes humidity from the air. It's like a really utopian city. And these weather towers are the ones that kind of explode. So this is before and this is after. So the destruction of these towers, the majority of them, essentially sets off the engines that seed the weather, and they create this massive every project gets one Akira slide almost. I have to do it at some point. I need to figure out when would be the best occasion to put in an Akira slide, but we'll see. I didn't hear the beginning. Thanks for repeating. No worries. Yeah. So I didn't mention this bit, but so this is in the present day. This is what the cities look like now. There's this massive storm that essentially covers the whole of North Africa, a lot of the Mediterranean, a lot of like Western, like the Central Africa and all this kind of stuff. It's this massive sandstorm that was created by the destruction of these weather towers. And this storm is called. Let me check my notes. I think it's called the Sword Wind, because it's like, it's hurling sand at such speeds that it's very painful, and a lot of people can't survive out there. And this is where outside is where the storm dwarves live, which were kind of designed in the last stream. Let me just check my notes. Okay, it's called. So the storm is called the Sword Winds. So a big problem with all of this wind and all of this this sand building up on top of the shield is a lot of the areas kind of collapsed. So you have where these structures were originally. Let's do like a comparison. You can see on the right side the support tower on the right, where it's kind of just collapsed, and it's like that part of the structure is just broken down, and so a lot of the sand has kind of rushed in and plugged it up. So you can see that there, where like all the sands kind of come in from the broken shield. So a lot of it's like plunged into darkness, and you have these kind of like sunbeams that come through, and that's just where the sand is kind of brushed off of the shield and brushed back on again. So it's like really sporadic moments of light throughout the kind of cavern. It's called the Cavern City. That's what it's referred to as. But you have all of these like structures in the background. Looks like I do remember the Storm Dwarves. I also want to loot that city. So that's a big aspect of it, right? I'm a big fan of mega dungeons. So Eternal Ruins is a great example of that. And that was a big idea with the Great Forest for the Albion Isles. But I wanted something more like a city where there's lots of technology, and if you go in there, it's very dangerous, but it's a kind of high risk, high reward type thing. So this is the idea with the dwarfs: is they live in these bastions, like this one here. So this is like a not very good image, but this is the one we're going to be working on a little bit today. We can see these are all like kind of the buildings in the background in pitch black, and this is where like a lot of the people live in these like really small settlements that still have power, and they're just constantly in light because the things in the darkness stay away from the light. So like the majority of these like small cities are called I've got a name for them, but the main one is called the Glass Bastion. So it's like the main city where a lot of the story will take place. A bit like how the Albion Isles is kind of centered around Jorvik at the moment. So there's a few people who live in the quite a lot of people who live in the Glass Bastion, and majority of them survive there. And again, they still have access to a lot of the technology, so they can get water and they can get food relatively okay. But a lot of people go out to try and get tech to bring back to build up the city and make it better. So when these people go out on these expeditions, they're obviously very, very dangerous. And it's a bit like going into the Great Forest, but one aspect of it is just that if you imagine, this underground dungeon that is just absolutely silent, and if you make any noise, then things will come to try and find you, essentially. So the idea is a lot of their culture and everything is based around how silent they have to be. Dwarves. Thanks for joining us, Lawrat. How are you, mate? Oh yeah, there is just something appealing about scale. Do you know Paul Chadesian, the guy that made Solus 5 and Second Skin? If not, you should definitely check it out. Super inspiring. No, I've not heard of Paul. But I agree, absolutely. Scale is like such a cool thing. I think a good example is like with 40k with the Space Hulks, and with Blackstone Fortress, where it's just Blackstone Fortress is unimaginably big, and like when they enter, so in fact this is massively inspired by Blackstone Fortress, where you enter a small door in a small section and you explore a small area of this just incredibly huge space station, and it would be impossible to search all of it because it's just so dangerous, and round every corner is just this incredible technology, but also things defending that technology. And it's different from the Great Forest because a lot of the Great Forest has been stripped. A lot of people have gone in there and they've taken the technology that's at the edge of the forest. So to find more technology, you have to go deeper into some of the ruins that are covered by the trees. But in the cavern cities, you're just surrounded by it. But every building, almost every single building, is occupied by something horrible: spiders and insects and carnivorous like lizards and other humanoid creatures as well. So it's just incredibly dangerous. Now an extraction game set in your world. I'm very obsessed with friend slop extraction games at the moment, so that's a big aspect of it as well. The thing is, I was thinking as well is trying to do something in regards to the TTRPG that I want to make. And the first one I'm going to focus on is, of course, the Albion Isles and some of the stories set in the Albion Isles, like a story about Jorvik and discovering the tomb of Corvus, Whitby, the place called the Grave of Whitby, which is a seaside town that's based in Bram Stoker's Dracula series, Blackpool, and a fungal infection that arrives in the port of Blackpool. So like, there's a bunch of stories I want to do there for the TTRPG, but a big one that I want to do as kind of like a part 2 would be the Cavern Cities, and maybe even do it as a one-shot so people can kind of get an idea about it. But then it would introduce the dwarves as like an extra playable character. So the dwarves haven't really changed much since the previous stream 2 weeks ago. They're still kind of like this. I'm very happy with these two kind of designs. So I have done a little bit more on them. I've done a few more images, so I'll go through them so you guys can see them. So the first one I did, oops. Yeah. The first one I did was, let me show you. I've shared these in the Discord, but just to show you. I think one of them I haven't. The first one I did was this one. So obviously I get to introduce some African creatures, and with the storm dwarves I'm going to do more mammals. So it's going to be like wild dog hunting packs, where it's like wild dog fae and wild dog animals and giant wild dogs, and they just go around a bit like Mad Max, just really scary, yipping in the storm, and you have to kind of escape them. And massive storm trolls that just wander through the storm, not affected by the blade, like the rushing sand, but they're just finding other trolls and kind of it's just titans fighting in the dark, in the cover of the storm. But I want to do a lot of like insects and really horrible creatures that you can find, like big, massive insects. So antlions is a great example because antlions are horrible. They're very scary. Not antlions, sorry. What are they called? Camel spiders. Love that one. Scale. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I knew I wanted to do camel spiders. Oops. Get out of here. Because they're so scary. But again, I want to kind of show the scale. And again, I'm just trying to do like a bunch of different North African costume designs. So there's like a real variety there. I'm kind of just pushing it a bit. Because the thing with the Albion Isles is it's very much set in the British Civil War. So it's a lot of hats and the kind of cavalry coats and the frilly neck braces. But with North Africa, it's a lot more colourful. So it's been quite fun designing them. And there's going to be a lot more technology amongst the dwarves because they do have access to more because it's not been so strict. My idea for some of these orbs that they use is dragon trapdoor spider. Oh yeah, that's a cool idea. Oh, gosh, anything like that, like ambush predators in the darkness would be very cool. But I think spiders has to be like a really prominent one. But yeah, look at this guy. Oh god, he's so horrible. We'll get rid of that. So a lot of there's gonna be more technology in this one, and one of the ideas is these orbs that they use to kind of light the darkness. And the idea is a lot of them are going to be wearing glasses, and the glasses see a different what's it called? Like signature, a bit like like UV or infrared. And so essentially, if you're wearing these glasses and you have one of these orbs, the orb will follow you around, and it can switch to different like visual lights or whatever it's called, and so that you could see the light, but other things in the darkness could not see the light, and that's the idea. But also, if you were being chased in the darkness by something, you could sacrifice one of these orbs by essentially switching to a normal light and sending it down like a corridor, and then the creature would hopefully chase after it, and maybe it would have like a little alarm that you could do. And again, these are like pre-tech items that dwarves have found. So there's gonna be like a lot of ruined temples and things like that. Another one is this one. I really like this one. I did this one yesterday or the day before, I think. So this dude's a bit smaller. He looks like a Newgrounds character. But obviously giant centipede. Very scary. So like a cool aspect of it as well would be that obviously creatures that are bigger than humans might be hunting humans, but there'd be a lot of creatures that would be so big that they wouldn't be hunting humans. They'd be hunting other things. And so it's just like this ecosystem of just absolute danger. It's so dark down there that all of these creatures kind of survive. And the kind of analogy I thought to describe it is like living underneath a rock. And essentially you're like a little woodlouse or a little insect that lives under a rock. And everything under there is a hunter trying to eat other things. So you have to kind of survive there. Also, he's holding one of the new sword designs. A very basic design for it, but the new marble swords that I've been thinking about recently are gonna change a lot. So this is an example of one of the hilts that they use. Hey Grow, thanks for joining us, mate. I'm just going through some of the new art for this week. Some big scary creatures. This one I think I shared on the Discord. I've added a little bit to it since, but there's gonna be like a bunch of dwarves that are like monster hunters essentially, and they kind of pride themselves out on going out and hunting monsters, a bit like the troll hunters, but these guys are kind of, they do it more for glory than to kind of protect the city, and they're a bit like, like Slayer dwarves from Warhammer Fantasy. They go out there and not because they're dishonored or whatever, but they kind of go out there to try and slay the biggest creature. Or a bit like Monster Hunter, I guess. This one's attacking I think they're called desert hunter spiders. I can't remember what they're called. And then another quick one that I did to kind of show the dwarves in the Albion Isles. So they're with like just a standard character from the Albion Isles, but also the fact that one thing. Fantastic, the stream has been absolute peak so far. Good to hear. So moving on to I made a bunch of notes about the cultural aspects of the dwarves. So these guys, let me get my notes up so I remember all the names. Where is it? Factions. So the Mazak. So the Mazak are these little dudes. They are quite small. Adventurer Guild dwarves. Yeah. So these guys are like mercenaries. They survive they've arrived in the Albion Isles, and they're kind of selling themselves as sell swords or working for people as like, again, they know pre-tech very well because they deal with it a lot more than many people do on the Albion Isles. So the Mazak, they are essentially going to be the size of kind of like gnomes, like typical gnomes that you see in general fantasy. But so they're going to be kind of short and a little bit skinny. A lot of their culture is built around running away and being silent. So not very traditional dwarves. But the idea is that they're short, so they can squeeze through small spaces and windows and escape things very easily. That's how they've kind of evolved. But their whole culture evolves around being silent as well. So they have 2 languages, which are 2 sign languages, other than their spoken language. The spoken language is what they use in the cities, but when they go out exploring, they use sign language with their hands and with their arms. So the first one is called hand whispers. And essentially you would hold your hand up to someone's face in the darkness outside of the city, and you would make signs, and it would be like movements, and the back of your hand would indicate different words to the side of your hand, and if you're using your thumb, it would indicate different things when you're moving your fingers. So it's like normal sign language, but it generally uses one hand, and it's held right up to the person's face so they can easily see what you're talking about, even if it's pitch black. And the other thing is, it's called a hand whisper because you don't want to make any noise at all out in the darkness. So that kind of stops creatures from seeing like quick movement as well if you're just moving your fingers. The other one is called arm shouts, where they wave their hands, and this would be at a greater distance where you don't want to shout, but you want someone to still see what you're talking about. So it would be much more dramatic movements, but the movement of the arms are more like demands. You don't have any like questions with arm shouts. It's more just telling the other person what you're doing, or telling the other person to do something. So it'll be quick things like run or hide or monster, and it'll be very quick movements so that you don't, again, attract any attention because you're moving your arms quite rapidly. So they have all of these different aspects of their culture where they're just very quiet. And so in terms of their personality as well, they're also super quiet, stoic people. They think a lot. Although they can think quite quickly, they like to take their time because when they're outside, they have to think quickly. And so when they're in the cities, they can think a bit slower. So the Storm Dwarves, who are called the Sahar, are essentially the complete opposite. They are super loud because in the storm they need to hear each other. They live in like, again, a very dangerous environment, but they take it as like they live life a lot faster. They like to sing and dance, and they like to party and all these kind of things. So their personalities are like a bit more like typical dwarves. They like to drink, and they're really loud, and they're very boisterous, and they like to fight each other. And so they're just completely polar opposites. So you can kind of see it with this image where like this guy's obviously telling a joke. It looks a bit like Wario, and then this guy is like just trying to be silent on the road and not attract any attention to himself. There's a bunch of other stuff as well, like their religions. The Mazak have these kind of sun discs because they worship the sun, and it's called like the hidden sun because they never see it through the storm. So in the Albion Isles, they're very happy to be there. Well, Obviously, it rains a lot because it's based on England, but they're very happy to see the sun because they don't see it in their own lands. And these ones, the Sahar, I'm kind of trying to figure out. This like disc on the armor is very typical of like Arabic or what's it called, Ottoman armor, and I thought it's cool because again it could represent the sun, but I want them to be a bit more like dismissive of the sun, like the sun abandoned them. So again, kind of contrasting with the Mazak. So they dislike the sun. So perhaps that's why they put it on the front of their armor, because that's the first thing that gets hit if they're attacked. But yeah, cool. So that's what I've been thinking of this week, whilst working. So it's been like a very busy, fun week. And I've been doing like a few other images. This one I was quite happy with. This is like a little Mazak exploring when he doesn't realize that something else is also following him. And this is the third species of dwarf, but I'm going to get into them like a bit more in the future. But I'm going to do a lot more of these kind of architectural scenes, drawing up some different ideas. But yeah, cool. So yeah, right. Let's get into doing some more drawing. I did some other little sketches, just trying to think of ideas of how the city would look. But I think today. Oh, by the way, today's not going to be a very long stream because I need to finish the podcast. I'll probably go on till like 9:45, so like another 45 minutes or something. I want to finish the podcast with. I don't know if you guys saw. I'm doing a podcast with. I recorded a podcast with Monster Garden, so that's going to be out on Friday, which is awesome. It's a really interesting episode, and we talk a lot about his kind of art, his art experience and how he came to be an artist and that kind of stuff. So I think it will be a good one to watch for sure. Right, so yeah, it's a good one. I'm really excited for the Monster Garden collab. Me too, mate. Me too. It's gonna be He's the initial reason that got me interested in world building. Yeah, I think everyone I've recorded with so far, including Nubbark, who was here earlier, has been super, super interesting. And it's been such a great opportunity to kind of, jump into people's minds and see how they are. And one thing that everyone has said so far is that they really appreciated Chef Schwen. Is that they really that Monster Garden was one of their big inspirations. So I think that's an important one. That's why this kind of podcast episode is quite important, because I feel like so many people have considered him to be such a big influence that it was just a really cool opportunity to get to chat with him, because it was the same for me. I watched his dwarf episode, and that was the reason why I kind of got into world building in the first place. Oops, just shrink this. Shrink this down. There we go. So yeah, it was cool to have that chance to chat with him, and yeah, I think you guys are gonna really like the episode. It's like very, very cool and like a really interesting one to chat about. Right, this is a town called Chefchaouen in Morocco. I visited here like last year, I think. Morocco was awesome. I don't know if any of you guys have had the chance to get across, but it's an awesome country with amazing people and just the most amazing food, and very colourful, and yeah, very, very nice people. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to do some stuff in North Africa, is because I have a few Moroccan friends, and yeah, it's cool to do something a bit different, but also kind of just from my experience visiting the country as well. Shrink this a little bit. Same here. I love his stuff. Good. Yeah, he seems to be like one of those people who's just inspired a generation of world builders, which is cool. he's like a very humble guy as well. He really doesn't feel like he said, like, he says quite a lot in the episode how it feels like he's not really a world builder because his other people do such like a detailed, incredible projects, and he feels is like very self-serving, and he does like a lot of stuff for himself, which is like a cool mentality. I think it's another reason why I'm kind of doing this stuff now with the dwarves, is because I want to do I want to give myself less restrictions, and yeah, allow myself to kind of do some different things, other than just, you know, I love drawing the frogs, and I'm going to draw a lot more frogs, but yeah, to kind of force myself to do some different things, but also things I kind of want to draw. Right, so we're just drawing a little street here. I've also got one of those little wooden mannequin doll things, so I'm going to be using that a little bit today. Going to be carrying a little sword at his side. Down a little bit. I have the dwarf jar sitting on my desk right next to me. No way! Did you order it in the Kickstarter, or did you print it off from his Sketchfab thing? Do you know, it's a really frustrating thing. I really I wish I had more money to spend on world building stuff, because I want to get a Sawyer Lee, you know, Dragon Slayer Codex. I want to get, you know, from Rick's Creations, I want to get a, is it Territories of Torun, is it? Oh no, that's West Winter. It's Tales of Tumen. I want to get a Tales of Tumen book. I'd love to get the RPG for, a physical copy of the RPG for Eternal Ruins. I've got a digital copy, or I will do, and yeah, I would love to have so many world building things, and like to invest in other world building projects, but maybe when I have a bit more money, I will definitely take that opportunity. I got the second version on the Kickstarter. I should get mine out of the box. Does everyone have a dwarf? I'm so jealous. Oh man. Let's get some 17th century Arabic armor. Arabic clothes. Shipping nearly cost me more than the jar itself, jeez. I'll have to just fill a shelf with world building stuff. Sadly, money is a concern for me as well. Yeah, you know, I've talked about my bookshelf a lot, and I'm very proud of it. It's pretty cool. You know, I'm going to get my camera out so I can show you guys. It's a bit dark in here, so you won't be able to see everything, but I'm not crushing my dog at me. Okay. I'm trying to dox myself here, but... Bit messy, but so this is my bookshelf. It has lots of world building books on it, but they're all like concept art books, and I've got some great ones on here. I've got lots of James Gurney, so Dinotopia, Imaginative Realism, Colour and Light. I've got 2 Guelph books, fantastic world building books, as well as Dinotopia. The Art of Mass Effect, so all 3 games. And the Cinematic Art of World of Warcraft, that book's okay. I bought that because my favourite book is this one. The Art of the Wrath of the Lich King. That's an awesome book full of like so many cool sketches. Art of Halo 4. That's, you know, I didn't really like Halo 4, but the art book is very cool. And this is another cool one as well. My wife got this for me. Fairies of the Fault Lines. And this is like a lot of sketches, but like really cool ones. And again, this is like great world building stuff. Very, very good. A bit like Guelph. I'll put it back after. What else have we got? We got The Art of Overwatch, which is a great one. Again, I don't really like Overwatch. I used to play it back in the day, but what else have we got here? We've got Ghost of Tsushima. This is Elder Scrolls Online, like a limited edition, leather-bound book, and again, great world building. A lot of the other stuff is pretty cool as well. We've got loads of Star Wars books, and I use a lot of these actually from time to time. One Star Trek one. A bunch of Warhammer books, including like codexes, a bunch of D&D books, including a few like really old ones. A bunch of Miyazaki ones. We've got We've got 2 Princess Mononoke, because I forgot I had one when I went to Japan. I bought one. We've got Spirited Away, so another Miyazaki. Art of Apex Legends. Movie art from Sid Mead, really, really cool one. I got the Red Rising comic from a mate got that for me for my birthday. Halo comic. And then a bunch of like graphic novels. Kill 6 Billion Demons. I've talked about this a lot. I've got all of the books so far. Awesome series. And then a bunch of art books. We've got Goya, because Winter recommended that. Klimt. You kind of see up there. I love Klimt. Bunch of Tolkien stuff. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I got this because I used to have this as a kid. This is like a reprint, but it's a great world building book. That's like, that book came out way before the films. And a bunch of other stuff. I'm very proud of my collection. You know, the George R. R. Martin books, Mothership, sci-fi book. Another Miyazaki one. I talked about this in the Nubmark podcast. This is Shauna's Journey. Really, really great book. It's like very short, but like really compelling story. I wish they'd made that into a film, but yeah. And then this one I just got recently from a charity shop. I'm going to read. Quite good find. Icewind Dale trilogy. So a D&D book, but a novel series, but yeah, loads of good stuff. And then up here I've got some. These are the like fighting fantasy series. Ravenor, great Warhammer series. Just here behind that Tyranid model, and then all of the Lord of the Rings books as well. So lots of stuff. My very geeky shelf, but yeah, I'm very proud of my collection, I would say. I wonder if you could run a game based in the Isles using the Humblewood campaign settings. Do you know, a few people have mentioned Humblewood to me, and it's something I want to look into a bit more. I've got a few D&D, or like a few RPG settings I want to run, including that one I just showed you, the Mothership one, which is a sci-fi setting. And like I said, I want to eventually make this into an RPG. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to take time, and I need to practice like editing a book, which would take a long time for sure. But again, that's something to do when I'm a bit more monetized and I can afford to do some like training or something. Make his arm a bit stumpier. That is super cool. I need to get some physical art books. Right now I'm just looking at them in the Internet Archive. Internet Archive is great. I use it a lot to check books before I buy them. I buy most of the ones I check on there, but there's been a few where they weren't what I was expecting. Like a few RPG books, especially, where it's like a lot of text and not so much artwork. So I appreciate that being there. It's a good way to kind of review it. I need to get the Guelph books. They look sick. They are so inspired. Larry McDougall, I think his name is. Is it Larry McDougall? Is just an awesome. Yeah, Larry McDougall. It's such an awesome artist. And you know, Guelph is one of my. I mentioned it in a few things, but Guelph is one of my main inspirations for the acceleration. I was really considering it, and I think, you know, I followed Larry McDougall for a long time on Instagram, and of course he does like the really great anthropomorphic animals. His are a bit more like stylized, and he does them in that watercolor style, but such a fantastic world building book. And I think he's got 3 out now, or maybe he's just doing the 3rd one. I've got 2 of them, so I'm definitely gonna get another one. But yeah, he's such an awesome artist in general, so definitely recommend it. Right, I'll make this guy less dark. So a big thing with the Mazak is a sign of wealth is having like really big clothes and really inconvenient clothes. So like really long draping robes and scarves and headdresses and turbans. And so it's the sort of stuff where if you were in a little small cabin house, you would get stuck all the time. So the idea is if you have big clothing, then you have a big house. So a lot of these guys have just like the most inconvenient clothes, and they wear it when they go out into like into ruins and things like that, when they go searching in the cavern cities. So it's like very illogical, but they're so stubborn about this. And it's something I want to say with the storm dwarves, because they're very efficient. All of their clothes are very streamlined, so the sand kind of brushes off of them, and they have masks and stuff to protect them from the sand, and quite tight clothing. So they don't get like kind of dragged in the high winds, and so they mock the Mazak for just being like so pretentious about their clothing and things like that, and kind of inverse as well. The Mazak just see the storm dwarves as like almost like savages, because they can't really they don't dress well. They just dress efficiently and in armor, and yeah. A lot of the Mazak don't even wear armor because it would be too noisy in the cavern cities. The art books about initial movie adaptations are always super interesting. Super cool to see them find the style that they would later determine the movie, like the first Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. I completely agree. The Star Wars books I love, and one of my favorite ones that I have is one that I found in a really small charity shop whilst I was on a hiking holiday. I was very lucky to find it, and it's the art of Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. And it's so good, and it's very cool because they have lots of 3D, a lot of it's like physical sketches, and they use obviously fashion artists to design all of Padme's costumes. And they have a bunch of artists that I know that did a bunch of Warhammer art as well, like Ian McCagg, who does that series with the monkey, the gangster monkeys. But they also have some cool stuff on there, like what's her name? There's the Sith woman from the Clone Wars cartoon. Is it Asar Ventress? So she was a character concept in Attack of the Clones. Yeah, I found it. Right, let me get my camera out again. I'm using the camera a lot today. 1 second. So Asar Ventress, you guys, I don't know if you've watched the series, but you'll recognize her. So this is from the Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones book. I found this and I got it for like £3 or something. It was super, super cheap. So this is the concept for Asar Ventress. And so this is done by Dermot Power. And again, they didn't use her in the movie, and then she became like such a key character in the Clone Wars cartoons, which is so cool. But yeah, the artwork in this is just incredible. Again, like lots of 3D stuff, but a lot of traditional. 'Cause they weren't using so much like digital art back then, so they had to like build 3D models. So you got like a lot of the costume design for the Jedi and like the big final battle. It's just such an awesome book. Like I said, they've got Jar Jar Binks, but they have a bunch of these like really awesome costume designs for Padme, and obviously these are all done by I don't know if it was Dermot Power. Ship design and everything. Oh, just so cool. So cool. Yeah, that's the one. Also, the early General Grievous concepts are so cool. Yeah, I agree. Definitely, they had some like incredible stuff. General Grievous, and I think I watched a video on that on YouTube, and they were saying how I think George Lucas walked in and just picked one out of this whole wall full of stuff because he wanted something that was like organic, but also metallic, like a proper cyborg. And so that's how they came to like find Grievous and Maul. Yeah, exactly. £3. Honestly, Darth Malgus, I don't know where you're from, but if you live in the UK, charity shops are your best friend. You will find just the most incredible books in there. The most expensive book I bought from a charity shop was the Elder Scrolls Online limited edition one. That was £30. But every other book I bought, I think, has not been more than £5, which is incredible. Because some of those books are like, if you buy them off of Amazon, some of them are like £60 now because you can't buy them anymore. Or if you buy them out of like secondhand bookstores. The Guelph books I bought full price because they're quite modern. The 2 James Gurney like teaching books I bought full price. Dinotopia I bought for £1 in a shop. The Art of World of Warcraft I got for £18 in a really famous shop in Northumberland. But there's this great shop near me that is like kind of like a comic book store, but they always have secondhand concept art books in there, and no one else seems to buy them. So whenever I go in there, I can kind of have my choose. I'm not there that often, so I don't get the chance. But yeah, there's so many cool things in there. Right, what are we doing with this? Let's get some colour. I've got this guy's design. It's a bit of a mix. I think with the little feather on top, he actually looks it's a bit more like an Indian design. But we're going for like flowing robes and the turban and kind of an amalgamation of like Ottoman design. And, you know, the Ottoman Empire stretched so far that I think it's not far-fetched if he has a little feather in his turban. So yeah, a lot of the early concept art is so much cooler than the final product, at least in my opinion. I agree, definitely. There's some like incredible stuff in there. In the Monster Garden episode, he talks a little bit about the designer for Evolved Stage 2, like the video game. One of the monster designers in there, and I was going through some of the art whilst editing the podcast, and oh gosh, like you said, it's like some of the concepts are just incredible, so incredible. And I appreciate like the art director has the final say, and they choose what stays and what goes. But you know, you can't help but think maybe they were wrong. Maybe they should have chosen a better something better. But yeah, I suppose that's why they're professionals. Let's get some art for Dark Alley. To be fair, they have to worry about the actual practicality of turning it into a movie. Yeah, that's a good point as well. It's like perhaps some things are cool, but they're just not possible, right? That's true. You're lucky. My local charity shop only stocks Tom Clancy and Dan Brown. Big clothes, big houses. It's an S tier idea. I said it. I understand, but at least show us what could have been. Big clothes, but I see. Big clothes, but big houses is an S tier idea. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm trying to do a bit more, to be a bit more. My favorite concepts are the ones that are built off of logic, and I feel like that's a cool one to try. So again, you know, even though they live in a dangerous situation, I feel like it's cool to have them still have this kind of perhaps like class structure or all these problems in society where people want to be better than each other. I got to visit some charity shops when I'm in the UK the next time. Haven't been since Brexit. Damn Brexit. Yeah, do you know, I would say the charity shops in like big cities are, I mean, they're not the best places to go because a lot of people will go in there and look for stuff. Whenever I go to a big city, I'll normally check the charity shops and they never have stuff. And I've spoken to some of the people there and they say that they have like waiting lists. So if they get like graphic novels or like anything related to Dungeons and Dragons, then yeah, it's just gone in like a second. The ones I always get stuff from are like little towns, like very, very little towns. And those are normally the best places because they'll be, you know, specifically charity shops for like old people, to put it bluntly. And so whenever you go in there, people will grab books that they'll take on holiday with them, but they'll never even look at like concept art books or like geeky books. So you can get some absolute bangers in some of those places. Especially games like Skyrim. Yeah, the Elder Scrolls Online book that I got is really cool because it's presented from the point of a Dark Elf assassin, and it's about him doing contracts for the Dark Brotherhood across the continent. And so you go through like each of the different regions, and it talks about like assassinating particular characters and how he does it, and it's like kind of like humorous. But he also shows like the guards there, but when he shows the guards, it does it all the concept art for the guards, and sort of like their different armors, them with the helmet on and helmet off, the different banners and what they mean, and their different weapons. So it's very much a concept art book, but the way it's presented is like almost in a bit like a narrative case. So it's awesome. Such a great idea. Right, we'll get some texture on this wall, but I'll just get try and figure out the light. I want to do a bunch of these like moody scenes to kind of show that, you know, I'm gonna do some like zoomed out ones as well to kind of show the city for what it is. But I also want to do, yeah, a bunch of these kind of like little alleys and the dwarves kind of wandering around to show that this is kind of their life. They're a bit like rats in New York City. You know, they're kind of scavenging and doing their best. But at the same time, it's just, you know, very much survival of the fittest in this environment. My grimy brushes. Let's find a good grimy one. That'll do. That's perfect. How's that look? Looks okay. It looks a bit 2D. Maybe like that. It's a bit more subtle. Maybe a little bit more. Let me do some ominous sprays on the wall. Yes, something like that. So we've got some extra texture. That's a bit nicer. Let's take and check it out. Yeah, what's it called? Let me find it. Alright, we're gonna get the camera out again. I like showing you guys these books. I don't have many people to show these books to, so let me crack this out. So I'll show you the front case actually, because it's pretty cool. Oh, hey Tyden. I didn't even see you enter the stream. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And I'll see you later. Okay, so this is the book. This is how it's presented. So it's like I said, it's like the limited edition one that I got from the charity shop. So it's like this really gorgeous thing with big maps. But it's presented from the perspective of, what's his name? Narayu Virian, who's like an assassin with the Brotherhood. So this is him in Vardenfell. So it goes through and it's like his assassinations and the people he meets along the way, and then different continents, and it's like very much concept art. And you can see they've kind of like photo bashed a bunch of like these things. They do like little props in there, like creature concepts, and they do, you know, these amazing beasts and even like little cute animals. Yeah, these like big landscape concepts. And yeah, so it's like I think they do every region that is present in the Elder Scrolls Online. So you get some of these like really cool ones. It even tells you like some of the missions I think in the game. This little dude. Very cool. But yeah, honestly, it's such an awesome. I remember this dude. It's such an awesome book. So detailed, and like obviously they put a lot of effort into making it into like a bit of a story about him assassinating all these people. And again, it's from his perspective, so it's a bit of like a comedy book as well. It's time for 2 week Skyrim phase again. If I can get it to run after butchering with 200 mods, oh, that is the way. I think it's almost an obligation. It's like a rite of passage if you play Skyrim on the PC. I think you get mods on consoles as well now, but I think I did exactly the same thing. I love modding it just to stop playing after a week. That's it. Do you know, I listen to a lot of, whenever I'm doing like some stuff for my job, just some admin stuff, I very often listen to the Skyrim soundtrack on YouTube. It's like, I don't know why, it's like such a nostalgic sound. So Skyrim came out when I was at university. So I remember my friend and I went to the supermarket, because we didn't have like a game store near us, because I went to quite a small university, and he bought it, and we sat there and just played it for hours. I think I just watched him play because it was on his console. And so I have this real nostalgia for the soundtrack and the game and everything. That I feel with some like older games, but not with much else. So I do the same thing. I'll go and I'll play it for a bit, and then just completely stop playing it. What's going on there? Shadows don't really make sense. Because there wouldn't be any shadow there, right? Because it's not blocking. Would there be? Maybe on the bottom step. I guess maybe. Again, I'm doing just kind of these small narrative pieces, but I think I need to make it look a bit more like a city. Need to load up Nexus again. Nexus is so good. Fallout 4 2, yeah. An hour of trial and error, yeah. It's annoying when one of them breaks and you're not sure which one it is. Having to do it all manually would suck, yeah. Completely agree. And sometimes you just got to change the order the mods load in and it works. Elder Scrolls is so cool. I hope ES6 doesn't suck. Me too. You know, I'm probably gonna play GTA when I get the chance to buy it, but I think I'm not really hyped up for it. I enjoyed GTA 5. It's a good game. But yeah, I think that's about it. I'm not super stoked on it. But Elder Scrolls, absolutely. You know, I've played Skyrim a lot, but I've played Oblivion more. I never did any of like the really old ones like Morrowind or Daggerfall or I can't remember the other one. But and yeah, I obviously played Elder Scrolls Online. But for things like yeah, Oblivion, I've completed so many times. It's such an amazing game. Thronix, hi everyone. Just come to say hi. Shame I couldn't watch earlier, and now I got to go to sleep. But yeah, have a good stream. Appreciate you dropping in, Throndix. Good to have you here. Sleep well, mate. Yeah, if they ever release it, that's the problem, right? It's probably never going to get released. Same with Winds of Winter. Oh gosh, yeah. I was thinking about going through and watching all of the Game of Thrones series again. I appreciate they did mess it up, but just the start was so good. Obviously, that was when George R. R. Martin had a lot of say in how it was being produced, but gods, the writing was good back then. That look like a guy? I think that's too dark. Whatever. Alright, let's stick this all into a big group. Oops. Let's do some magic. I think this needs to be brighter here. I'm going to edit this a little bit, but it does need to be a little bit brighter. I have time to read all of them before it releases. The books are awesome. I love the books so much, and just like I need to read them again because the characters that are obviously not in this series there's so many fantastic characters and oh god, so good. For a long time I was a Star Wars geek, and then a Game of Thrones geek, and I've always been into Warhammer, but I would say Warhammer is probably my primary, fictional setting now. But yeah, for a long time it was Game of Thrones. I was completely obsessed to the point where I used to work in a restaurant, and the chefs in the restaurant would watch the show, but they'd never seen they'd never read the books. So whenever I came in, they were super excited because they could ask me a bunch of questions about the show. To the point where my manager banned us from talking about Game of Thrones because it distracted the chefs so much. Yeah, I absolutely loved Game of Thrones. You have time to write your own version before they ever release Winds of Winter. That's pretty true. Oh god, I've not watched The Night of the Seven Kingdoms yet. A lot of people have recommended it to me though. I read the Dunk and Egg graphic novels. House of the Dragon's good. I still haven't gotten to the second series there. Second season. Best part of GTA is running around. I agree. Yeah. Hey, Cryptic Galapagos. How's it going, Matt? Appreciate you being here. Just drawing some dwarves. Exploring a dangerous city. Right, let's try this gradient map again. That's better. Try a different colour though. Like an ominous blue. dark, right? I do have an issue with missions in GTA. Yeah, they're a bit boring, and they're kind of like you once you start a mission and you can't change it. Like the in GTA 5 where the intro is so boring. It's very frustrating, and you have to do it. Oh, Battle of the Bastards was very, very good. They did a lot of good things in the show. But yeah. Lizard Guy. I like that nickname, Lizard Guy. Yeah, looks vibey. Thanks. Yeah, so we're doing... I'll show you what we're doing, Matt. So we're doing the Dwarven city. So we're going very sci-fi with this. I'll talk about it quickly. This is where they used to live. They had these weather towers that can control the weather, so it's like very utopian. They all exploded for some reason, and that we'll not get into. And this is what they look like now. So this eternal storm that rages across the whole of North Africa. It's like an eternal like sandstorm. And so everyone lives in like abject darkness below the city. And so because of that, you have these giant creatures that just patrol in the darkness. And the humans there have evolved into dwarves, shrunk down, and changed to essentially become like little rats in the sewers. But they aren't like completely defenseless. They're very tough and stylish, of course, very important. But they still have to kind of avoid the dangers of the ruins. So it's been a fun one designing this. But this is like the two major dwarf factions. This is just a human on the left, but we've got the storm dwarves in the middle who live in the storm, and then the Mazak who live in the ruins, and of course very stylish. So just drawing a little Mazak dude exploring for himself. Right, I might try and add a bit more colour to this. If I can do oh, how did that not work? Doing something wrong? Oh. Oh, is it frozen? Oh dear. Dwarves need to be badass. I agree. It's an obligation. If you're making dwarves, they have to be very cool for sure. George is just such a damn good at writing dialogue. Martin, that is, not Lucas. Was the only piece of clothing Lucas designed that one outfit of Padme's? Yeah, the one where she was definitely not trying to seduce Anakin. Doing anything but seducing him. Super tight rejection dress, exactly. But yeah, to be fair, you know, I think George Lucas obviously had a... What's wrong with my... I have to crash this. I think George Lucas had obviously a big hand in the design for like Padme's costumes. But like I said, you know, you can see kind of with the art direction, the thing the designers were kind of going for, and it was very like fashionista. And they obviously had a lot of like Naboo had a lot of influence from Japan, I think. So you had these like, including the Trade Federation, that's super like racist interpretation of Japanese people. But yeah, I think although he did have a big influence on it, I think at the same time he wasn't the only hand making Padme as sexy as possible. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. We're going for something like where you can kind of see the colour, but not too much. And it's influenced by the blue. Mute it a little bit. Do a nice green feather. Maybe a green scarf as well. This guy's a very colourful, of course. But tasting men as well, when he kills the Tuskens and straight up gives him a ChatGPT answer. Yeah, you did nothing wrong. He's such a great guy. I want to go through them. I recently bought all of them. Again, charity shopping. I recently bought all of them in a charity shop, so I need to go through them and do a good binge. Force my wife to watch them as well. Got to go. Great stream. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you dropping in, mate. Hey, Coffee Pixel. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate you being here. We're just drawing some dwarves. Although I think I'm actually going to end the stream now. Not because you're here, Coffee Pixel, just because I need to go and do some more editing on the podcast. I've almost finished it, so it'll definitely be ready by Friday. But yeah, we're doing quite well with these dwarf images. Yeah, I think we'll end it there. I'll come back to this one for sure. We'll be back to normal streaming next Wednesday because I'll have a lot less pressure on me. I've kind of, you know, as I always do, I've left this podcast episode to a real last minute edit. I was doing some editing of the audio and stuff before, but I had so many videos to work on that I've kind of left it a little bit too last minute. But I've got plenty of time to finish it as long as I continue to do it tonight. The main part will be done tonight, and then I just have to add the little puppet animations tomorrow, the little PNG tubers, and then upload it tomorrow so it's ready for Friday. But yeah, I appreciate you all jumping in and being here. It was great chatting with you all and sharing my books with you. I appreciate that a lot of that was just me on camera showing you my nice collection, but it's nice to kind of show people the collection and show them yeah, what I have. You should they do really deserve to be on the main screen though. Yeah, with the Clone Wars characters, yeah, I agree. Cheers, mate. Excited for the pod. Yeah, me too. I'm hoping it does well. We'll see. It's such a good episode, if I say so myself, but just in terms of Simon's answers. So I think you guys are gonna really like it. Offended. Sorry, Coffee Pixel. Yeah, I said at the start I was going to do it a little bit shorter today, so I'm actually going to overtime a bit. But sorry, it's a bit short. So it should be back to normal next week, I think. Great stream today. Really enjoyed it. Fair. I'll check them out next Wednesday. Oh, fantastic. Right, guys. Really appreciate you keeping me company. You know, I'm happy with this image we got in. This is kind of a vibe I'm trying to go for with a bunch of the other images as well. So thanks for sticking in here with me. So yeah, thank you, Darth Malagas, thank you, Jiddlestav, Coffee Pixel, appreciate you being here. Anything by the bar is going to be good, appreciate that. Thanks, Cryptogalapagos, thanks, Matt, appreciate you being here as well. Who else did we have in? We had Nubmark, it's good to have you here, mate. We had Sidon and Throndix jump in as well to just say hi, so appreciate you guys. Lazy Crow, Lawrat, all of you guys, yeah, thank you for being here, and we will have a very good release on Friday, hopefully, and then next week we're going to be working on some more dwarves. Dwarves will be the next video after the pod, so that will be hopefully released not this Friday but the Friday after. But yeah, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, your morning, afternoon, or evening, and I'll see you in the Discord, or I'll see you next time.